Hey guys, welcome to this week's review of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Woo! Okay, let's get right into it. So the episode starts off where it did last week. They're still all out in the ice. Jen is yelling her head off like always. Now don't get me wrong, I love drama. I love characters. I love people. I love to watch people that are not afraid to be themselves, right? But at the same time with Jen, she's just a little too much for me. I don't really think she works on the show. I don't even know if she's going to be there next season. She's just like, Mary's kooky, right? Mary's a little bit odd. And I do feel like Mary's going to say something or do something that's going to F it all up, because I do feel like Mary is sketchy as well. Right? So I just feel like she's gonna F it up, and I'm like, please, Mary, don't say anything too messed up that's gonna get you canceled, because I do like you on the show, but I just feel like she's gonna do it because Mary has absolute no filter, right? But the thing about Mary, I don't feel like she is someone that's just gonna randomly lash out at somebody, right? As kooky as she is, and neurotic as she is, I feel like you could still somewhat reason with her. You can have a conversation with her. She's not going to freak out or cross the line. With Jen, she's just very emotionally unstable for me. And it's like you either have to be kissing her ass like Heather and Lisa. I don't know what power Jen has over the two of them, right? Or I don't know. Or to be honest, you want nothing to do with her, right? Because if in real life, if I dealt with someone like that, I would either be afraid of them, or I would be looking at them like, you're not even worth the headache, right? Like, why should I go out of my way to foster a friendship with you when you keep lashing out and doing these damaging things, and then when confronted, you want to play the victim and start crying and start screaming, right? She needed like 4 people to talk her off the ledge. At one point she threw her tennis bracelet, which Lisa wants to say is worth $70K, but I don't know if I believe that. But even if it's $1K, like, still, she throws her tennis bracelet onto the ice, into the snow, and she has poor Lisa digging through it to find it. Right? That shows somebody that is just very, very unstable to me. And I'm not too sure if reality television is the place for her. Right? Because someone like that, they just throw off the dynamic of the show. And I feel like the other ladies are, I don't know if they're afraid of her, but maybe they're intimidated by her, because she is a lot. And even with the people that are trying to help her and calm her down, she's swearing, she's cussing them out, she's doing the absolute most. I just don't like her, right? And I don't necessarily need to like someone to admit that they're good for reality television. Like, sometimes I don't like Kenya, but I do understand the value she brings to the show, right? Does she need to calm down a little bit? Sure. But I don't know. Like, Kenya can be a bit much, but I don't feel like she's just gonna lose it. Like, she's gonna snap, right? Like, Jen threatened to drown Whitney last season. It's just, there's something off with her. I don't like her vibe at all. That being said, right? I think I said this last week. This is my theory. I think it holds up. When we see the flashback of the clip, the dress that Jen is wearing, it wasn't super short. It was long, and she was kind of holding it together as she was kicking up her legs, right? So I don't really think that Brooke saw anything. And if he saw anything, it may have been for a flash or a second. And it's kind of like, I don't know, I wouldn't compare it to a butt crack, right? But if I'm wearing jeans or something and it's a little loose and I bend over and you see my butt crack, and if you were to call it out and act so offended, like, oh my gosh, gross, so disgusting, I saw your butt crack, and make such a huge deal out of it, to be honest, I would feel some sort of way, because at the end of the day, yeah, do you not want to see certain body parts of people? No. But it's not like she went up to Brooks and flashed her vagina, right? It was an accident. And at the end of the day, we're humans. We all have body parts. And yes, he's young, but you're grown. Like, calm down. She wasn't trying to deliberately flash you. So it was a little weird to me why he was so offended. I remember watching it last season, like, why is he so offended? I know Jen is kind of obnoxious, so I felt like maybe she was a bit tipsy and she was a bit annoying. But when you watch the flashback, she's saying grinder, 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 grinder. And now, flash forward to this season, we find out that Brooks hasn't come out as gay, right, to his family, to anybody, yet she's saying grinder, grinder, grinder. Now, I don't remember the context of that conversation, but I do kind of remember she was interacting with him and Meredith. So I think what really happened is that when Jen said grinder, he got triggered because, if you don't know, Grindr is a gay dating app. And if you haven't come out as gay and someone sort of clocking your tea on national television, right, you're going to feel some type of way. Now, I don't think Jen was trying to be malicious. I don't think Jen was trying to out him. I think Jen, like many of us watching the show, assumed, and maybe that was wrong for us to assume, that he was gay, right? I don't know what he is. He doesn't really have to tell us, but I don't know. Like, he was more of a housewife than Meredith was last season. He spoke more than Meredith last season. And to be honest, I don't feel like that was an exaggeration, because Meredith doesn't speak that much, right? I literally felt like Brooks had more screen time and spoke more than Meredith. So I feel like if you are going to put yourself out there like that, you kind of have to, I'm not saying that you have to accept disrespect, but you're going to need to have a little bit of a thicker skin, right? And if at that point you're not too comfortable with who you are, I hate to say that, right? In real life, it would be nobody's business. Who cares? But when you're on national television, these things are going to come up. So I don't know, maybe a conversation needs to be had there, but he doesn't owe us anything, and I'm not really waiting around for that conversation. But at the end of the day, I feel like that's why he was upset with Jen. So his way of getting her back was saying, oh my God, I saw her vagina. Ew, it was so gross. Like, kind of like trying to shame her and embarrass her because she embarrassed him, right? And I get it. And he's an adult, but he is still young. And with this situation, I feel like if he just sort of explained it like that, I think then it would be more of I think they would be able to understand each other. Now, to be honest with Jen, I don't think it will make a big difference. I'm going to be real with you. I think she's still going to yell and scream. She's immature, right? Like a grown adult, right, who has had some experience would look at that and be like, okay, he's uncomfortable with his sexuality, or he doesn't want everybody to be talking about that. He was embarrassed, so he tried to embarrass me. As an adult, you would register that. Even though you didn't like what he said, right? It hurt you, but you can understand why he lashed out, because you were kind of making that assumption that he was gay by saying grinder, grinder, grinder. Right? As an adult, you would be like, okay, cool. Right? And you would say, I apologize for saying that. I didn't mean to, but now looking back, I see how that was irresponsible of me, and I shouldn't have assumed what you were into or what you like without having that conversation, because at the end of the day, I don't know how well they knew each other, but clearly they didn't know each other that well, right? That's what I would say. And then I would say, however, I mean, there's no howevers or buts, but on a separate note, it did hurt me when you kind of try to shame me. I was just trying to have fun, and it was a girls' night, it was a sleepover, I had some drinks, I was just trying to have fun, and I didn't like how you publicly shamed me, right? So then they could have that conversation. Now, I just don't think I don't know if the maturity's there on both ends. I don't know if the maturity's there with Brooks. I don't know if the maturity is there with Jen to really have that conversation. I'm going to be real with you. And with Meredith, she's very passive aggressive. She doesn't want to engage. So I don't really feel like Meredith herself is going to be the one to kind of facilitate that sort of conversation. And she's just very defensive of Brooks right now. So she's not really in the mindset to kind of look at, okay, what did Brooks kind of do to egg this situation on? And is Brooks accountable for anything? Which I think Brooks, he is accountable, and he does owe Jen an apology. He does. So when it comes to the tweet, Jen wants to say she didn't like the tweet someone on our team did. Now, if you watched last season, you know that Jen has many people working for her. She has many assistants. The thing is with these kind of shows, you never know what's real and what's fake. And we all know what's going on with Jen right now, right? She has charges against her for essentially being a scammer. So with a scammer, you never know what's real or fake. But I guess it's reasonable to understand that you may have people running your Twitter or your Instagram and post things for you from time to time. So is it far-fetched to believe that someone on our team may have liked something that was derogatory towards Brooks? Sure. Is it far-fetched to believe that Jen is lying and she was actually the one to like that tweet? No, it's not far-fetched. So I don't know either way, but with either way, you have to take accountability. You did what you did. You may see it as not a big deal. You may justify your behavior. You may feel like, well, he did this, so therefore I can keep coming at him. But if you're going to do that, you're going to need to own it if you did that. And if you're saying you didn't do it and there's a chance that someone on your team did it, then I'm sorry, it is under your name. So you have to take accountability at the end of the day. It's still on you, right? So eventually she did do the right thing and she apologized. So it is what it is. Quick thing about Lisa. I don't get why Lisa is so up Jen's ass. Like, I really don't. Like, the way she was talking to Lisa, and even Jen's assistant. But at the end of the day, I mean, Jenna pays her assistant, so he's kind of paid to take that level of abuse. Maybe they're used to it, but I don't know. I couldn't deal with someone that's screaming in my face, telling me to shut the F up and get out of here. I couldn't take that. I wouldn't be picking up their backpack off the ground. I wouldn't be searching for their bracelet that they decide to throw into the snow. A diamond bracelet you throw into the snow. Like, I don't know. Like, that made Lisa look a little stupid. But in Lisa's defense, she's like, I grew up with 6 siblings. I'm used to different personalities, right? So I do understand for some people that may kind of turn them off and they may not have the patience to deal with that. But for Lisa, maybe people in her life have acted that way. Oh my gosh. So she's kind of used to it. So she knows how to handle those situations. So I don't know. I think what it is, Lisa needs an ally on the show. Whitney doesn't F with her. Heather doesn't really F with her. I don't think she really vibes with Mary either. So, I mean, the only one she has is Meredith. And then Jen, and then the new girl, but she doesn't really count because she's new. So I feel like it's strategic for Lisa. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a genuine relationship. I'm not completely buying it. Just like I'm not buying Heather and Jen's relationship either, you know? So it is what it is. It's also funny when Lisa was like, oh my God, Jack, when he was a kid, someone said, well, he is a kid, but we went to the corner store and someone said he had a big head and I was so offended. It's like, that's not really the same thing, I guess. It's just, Lisa's so random, but I do like Lisa. I do. Can I just say Salt Lake City is absolutely gorgeous? I may need to check it out. It's beautiful. The air just seems so crisp and fresh, and the mountains and the snow. I'm not really here for snow like that. I mean, I deal with snow every year, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, but in Salt Lake City, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And another weird thing I want to shout out for Salt Lake City, their soundtrack or their music is on point. I don't know, like especially last week's episode when Meredith was walking towards the ladies when they were on the ice, the music that they had playing, I don't know, I feel like, have any of you guys noticed that? I just feel like Salt Lake City has good music. I know, weird, right? I keep wanting to bring it up but forget. Okay, let's just move on, okay? So Lisa was definitely the star of this episode, and we are introduced to Lisa's friend, and I can't believe this. I don't know her name. I forgot. My first impression of Lisa's friend / Whitney's cousin. And when they said that, yeah, we're cousins, right? I was expecting something a little bit less distant, right? I thought that Lisa was kind of being a hater when she was like, oh, they're so annoying pretending to be cousins. It wasn't until Whitney explained it like, yeah, our great grandfather, we have the same great grandfather, so we're cousins, woo! And it's like, I guess you guys are related, but it's just so far removed, but whatever. If you want to say you're related, I mean, you're related, right? You could say that. I'm not gonna hate on it. I mean, technically they are related, but I mean, apparently he's some important guy in the Mormon church, so I'm pretty sure that everybody wants to claim that they're related to this guy. So they need to really, I don't know, I need to see some certificates or something. No, I really don't care. But Whitney and the new girl, they do look alike. They do look similar. So if you told me that they were sisters, I would believe you. So, hey, it's not far-fetched. They can be related. So basically, as you guys know, Whitney and Lisa have some sort of beef. Especially from Whitney, I don't really get what her issue with Lisa is. I don't see what Lisa did that was so bad. Now, I do have a feeling that maybe there are certain things behind the scene that maybe Lisa was doing, because in that flashback of the reunion, Whitney says that Lisa didn't want her on the show, right? And of course, they're not going to show that during the season because that does break the fourth wall. So I could definitely imagine that maybe there were things done behind the scenes to kind of block Whitney, right? And then they had that little tiff at the beginning of last season with I guess Lisa provided alcohol and bartenders, and the bartenders were drinking, and Whitney confronted her about that. I could definitely understand Lisa in that situation feeling some type of way, because it's like, okay, I provided you with alcohol, even though Whitney says it wasn't that much, but still, I provided you with the alcohol and a bartender, and now you're coming on camera complaining about it, so it's like you're making me look bad. And with Lisa, I definitely, with a lot of these ladies on these Housewives shows, she's very image conscious, right? Like someone like Whitney, I don't know, I get the impression that she's not embarrassed easily, right? So you can call her out, and I'm not saying that she won't be offended, but she's not really gonna take it to heart like Alisa would, right? Like Alisa, if you say anything that makes her look bad, she's gonna freak out, right? Compared to even Mary, who has no problem announcing that she needs to fart on reality television, right? So some people, they just have a high threshold for being embarrassed, and some people, if you say anything to tarnish their name, they react a certain way. But other than that, there's not a lot of examples of them having a lot of back and forth or having a real issue. I think the only issue is that maybe Lisa just straight up didn't like Whitney. So I think I don't think she went out of her way to be rude to Whitney, but maybe she was a bit cold. Maybe she wasn't as friendly, but if she had to film a scene with her, she did film the scene. She was able to engage with her, right? So for me, I don't really get where all this animosity is. It just seems like Lisa doesn't really like Whitney, and I feel like that's allowed to happen. You don't have to like everybody as long as you're not being disrespectful. Like, that's okay. But I think Whitney takes it super personally that Lisa doesn't like her. And we see that in the preview of the next episode, right? Because it did seem like Whitney was kind of sort of obsessed with Lisa, right? Is Lisa obnoxious? Is Lisa kind of snobby? Sure, she's all of those things, but I feel like that's just how she is. It's not really personal. That's just her mentality. And if someone doesn't F with you, someone doesn't F with you at the end of the day. So the new girl, she's throwing this charity event for, I believe, their transgender son. And it's a casino, right? The event looked nice. It was a good theme, right? It was casino. And basically, she had hired catering, and then she got a message 5 hours after she told Lisa that she's inviting Whitney to the party, right? And Lisa doesn't really F with Whitney and Heather because of the reunion. If you watch the reunion, it was a complete mess. Like, I was so shocked by Lisa's behavior. She showed out, like, complete Looney Tunes. I like Lisa, I do. She's a character, right? I like her. But she did a lot. So, of course, they didn't end on good terms, right? So, I guess she's offended that her friend that she's known for 20 years is all of a sudden getting close to Whitney. So the new girl gets a text that the caterer canceled because Lisa's assistant said that they had to. I mean, and then when the new girl confronts Lisa, I mean, I don't know, Lisa's not a very good actress. I don't know if that's just her, because this is just the second season, so we're not really familiar with these people. We don't really know what their norm is. She acted a lot like she acted during the reunion, which was just very bizarre. And her reaction again was also just weird. Like, at one point she's breaking down crying, like, I didn't do it. But there's no tears coming out of her eye, right? At one point, she calls Meredith and Jen, who don't really F with each other, but for some reason, she calls them in to prove that, oh, we're all friends, everything is fine, what are you talking about, right? Because the new girl brought up her and Meredith having issues. It was just weird. And then, of course, nosy-ass Whitney has to stroll into the conversation, and it was absolutely hilarious when Lisa was like, what are you doing here? Like, I would be the same thing. Like, what are you doing here? I was thinking the same thing out loud. Like, why, Whitney, you're just being nosy. You're being extra. Why are you inserting yourself into this conversation, right? And even the husband, I'm like, the husband is kind of like joining into the scene, and I'm like, this is the Real Housewives. Like, what are you doing? Let your wife handle this situation, right? Why are you inserting your... I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much on it, but I found it kind of weird that her husband was kind of stepping into the picture. In real life, absolutely no problem. But while they're filming, I don't know. I just think it's usually not a good idea for the husbands to really get involved in the drama of the wives. That's rule number one, right? Because if they get upset or they start yelling, they're going to take the situation to another level, because then Lisa's husband has to get involved, and then it's going to be this whole spiel. So whenever the husbands kind of insert themselves, I do get a little bit nervous, right? I don't know. This whole thing, it was just weird and a little bit contrived, right? Because one, if Lisa really canceled the catering, right? Why would they then tell her that Lisa's assistant told us to cancel? Like, wouldn't she tell them to not say it was her, right? I mean, that's just a little bit weird to me. What I think may have happened, one of two things. Like, it's pretty clear that Lisa and Whitney have their beef, right? So Lisa probably complained to the catering because it seems like they have a relationship. They probably have a friendship, right? So Lisa probably complained about Whitney, right? And once the catering people found out that, Lisa's friend betrayed her and invited Whitney to her charity event, that they're like, you know what, I'm going to be a good friend to Lisa and I'm going to pull out of the event. But even then, it doesn't make sense. And then another thing popped into my head, like, well, they could have been transphobic, right? Maybe, and they were just using Lisa as a scapegoat. I don't know. That's kind of far-fetched, because I'm like, if you're talking to the caterer about your event, you probably told them what it was. So if they weren't okay with that, they had enough time to cancel. So that doesn't make much sense. And then another thing popped into my mind was that this whole thing was fake and contrived. And I don't know, I'm kind of leaning into that, right? Because if Lisa canceled, she would tell them, don't mention my name. Like, why would they mention her name? Wouldn't they make up some excuse like, oh, I'm sick, or, oh, I don't know what you could say to kind of justify backing out of the last minute. But I'm pretty sure you could have Googled some sort of excuse, right, that wouldn't throw your friend under the bus or someone you have a business relationship with under the bus. It was just very, very weird, and that's why I just feel like this whole thing is fake. Now, is Whitney in on this? I don't know, right? But I can totally see Lisa and the new girl sort of concocting this sort of bizarre, contrived storyline to kind of help her friend get on the show and to create a memorable moment, because both of them are saying, oh my God, I'm so devastated. Oh my gosh, I'm so devastated. But the new girl isn't crying. I don't see a tear out of her eye. And I don't see a tear out of Lisa's eye, right? When she came out of the room, she had a straight face. She did leave the party, but it was weird. It was just a weird ass scene. I don't know what to believe, but I'm sorry. I'm not really buying it. I don't know. Something is telling me it's fake. But if Lisa is really like that, I mean, I did like her, but now I am looking at her differently if she is so vindictive that just because, your friend invites somebody that you don't like, you're going to sabotage their event. And it's not like it's their birthday party. I mean, to be fair, it would be still wrong if it was their birthday party, right? It still wouldn't have been okay to do. But this is a charity event, that you would sabotage your friend's charity event because you don't like someone they invite. That's just weird. This is weird. I don't know. I'm not buying it. I feel like this is something that they planned. I said what I said. We'll see how this unfolds. Moving on. What else happened? Mary and Jen. Yeah, I mean, Jen has this habit on social media, like, I don't know, they showed this post of her basically making fun of Mary marrying her grandfather. I mean, that's just basically it, right? And there was photos, so there was no ambiguity, there wasn't like a like tweet or whatever. It was pretty straightforward. And of course, she sits there like, what? No, I don't know what you're talking about. That wasn't me. And I'm sorry, Jen, that excuse may work the first time. You may even get away with it the second time. But now this is the third person saying that on social media you're pretty much a jerk. And this is the third time you're acting like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. What? No? No? Huh? Oh, no, it wasn't me. Like, at this point, I didn't believe it the first time. I didn't really believe it the second time. And I'm sure as hell not believing it the third time, right? And if, yeah, you may have had someone physically posted that photo on Instagram, you may have had somebody there physically liking the tweet, but I'm pretty sure you were right there beside them, egging them on like, yeah, post this, yeah, like that, and talking crap, right? Probably drinking too. Okay, no, let me not put all that onto it, but you were probably kikiing with your assistant as they were liking mean tweets and posting mean shit. Like, come on, take some accountability, right? She doesn't want to at the end of the day, right? Because she just wants everybody to forget. But Mary's right. Like, you can't say that you're sorry and you want to move on, but then you keep on doing jerk-like things. I mean, social media is real, right? You may not say these things to my face, but if you're posting or tweeting insulting things about me, it's like, hello, how am I supposed to really trust you? But, Mary was the bigger person, and she was like, okay, you know what? Let's move on, but you do need to do better, right? Because I understand. I mean, after they filmed the reunion, they kind of go off in their perspective corners. I don't really feel like most of the ladies have, like, as a collective or as a group, I don't really think they have a friendship like that. So after the reunion, they kind of go off in their corner, especially with COVID and everything. So I think it's like, okay, once we sort of see each other again, we'll start fresh. But if you F up, then you F up. But it's sad because I would think that Mary and Jen would make good friends, but Jen is unstable at this point. I don't think she makes a good addition to the show. At first I thought she would be good, but Well, guys, that's everything. Toodaloos.